And let's go ahead back to our PowerPoint slide. So I'm going to start out with a little bit of a backdrop in PowerPoint for you guys and help you gain some insight as to how these tools came to be. And then we'll dip out of the PowerPoint and go directly into demonstrating within the apps. All right, so I like to start out with this slide. And in particular, it has a lot of meaning to me because, as I mentioned, I'm the mother of sons who have learning disabilities, but I too am an individual with learning disabilities, and they greatly impacted my educational experience as a young child. And so this image here, I definitely relate to the little boy on the stool who cannot see over the fence to participate in that game. And so there's a common misconception that equity and equality mean the same thing, and that they can be used interchangeably, especially when talking about education. The truth is they don't mean the same thing, and they really can't be used interchangeably. The two words are similar, but the difference between them is crucial, especially when we're talking about students who learn differently, and in particular, students whose learning differences are invisible and hard to pick up on. So equity encourages access to the same opportunities specific to need. And before we can enjoy equality, we have to ensure equity. And so today we're going to look at how the tools that Microsoft has created really help to provide students equitable access to curriculum. They also help students to personalize their learning and experience in a way that works best for them, and also enabling that student to engage in that learning environment. And then something that we all care deeply about is fostering independence. And so again, these learning tools have the ability to allow the student to more independently be able to work. So about a handful of years ago, I think it was 2014, Scholastic put out a survey and 14,000 educators replied. And the goal was to find out how are classrooms different today than, say, when you or I were in the classroom. And what we learned was 3/4 of all educators report working in classrooms where reading levels span 4 or more grade levels, and that's within that gen ed setting. And then 3/4 of all classrooms have students who have special education needs. Now that could be a student on an IEP, an individual with a 504, or some unique level of need for accommodation or modification. And then half of all of our classrooms, approximately, have students with English language needs in the classroom. And so you can see where up to 50% of time can be lost managing student needs, including assistive tech. And so our educators have a very big job today, very different from when I was in the classroom. And so when Microsoft likes to think of inclusive technology, they like to think of these 3 categories. And the first is students, and really students of all abilities. And they want to ensure that they're able to do their best work. And they want to enable students to personalize their learning experience in a way that works best for them. And next is educators, and wanting to give them tools that will enable them to engage every single learner. And then lastly, on a school level, equity and inclusion are something that are top of mind for everyone, from administration to educators, students, and even parents. And so wanting to make sure we can meet the needs of all students to empower them to reach their full educational potential. And one more slide here. I'm sorry, 2 more slides before we go into demonstrating within the apps. So from an accessibility standpoint, about 1 billion people globally require some level of assistive tech. It benefits everyone, including people with permanent disabilities, like some of the ones listed in the slide, to temporary impairments like a broken arm, or even a situational requirement like working hands-free. Assistive tech, as you'll see, is something that even when it's created for a very exclusive population, can really serve anyone and everyone. So today we're going to focus on increasing accessibility and making and fostering inclusive classrooms, that we're going to focus on these learning areas here, more some of the invisible disabilities, some that might be fall under the category of SLD or specific learning disability. And so this is our last slide before we go into demonstrating within the apps. And I want to share with you how these tools were created. So Microsoft holds a global hackathon every year. And this is something where anyone in the company can work with anyone they like on any technology they like for 1 week out of every year. And so in 2015, reading, font, accessibility, and education experts came together at the Global Hackathon, and they decided to look at the latest science research and technology techniques on dyslexia. And they specifically chose dyslexia because whether it's diagnosed or not, it impacts the largest percentage of our population's ability to read printed word at 17 to 20%. And so you can imagine that, again, as educators, if individuals aren't able to read proficiently, it severely impacts many different things in life. So this team got together and they built some tools into OneNote as an add-in. They won the hackathon that year. And then they went on to work with educators and students to see, well, how do these tools meet the needs of those individuals? And they discovered that not only do they help students with dyslexia, but also students who have dysgraphia, English language learners, students with ADHD, emerging readers, and many more beyond that initial intention. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and escape out of our PowerPoint, and I am going to share with you, we're going to start out in OneNote today. So those of you that are not familiar with OneNote, we're going to get a little bit of a background into why it's so wonderful and why you might want to delve a little more deeply into it. Okay, so here we are in OneNote. And again, for those that might not be as familiar, it's a digital notebook. Back in the day, you know, we carried these things called trapper keepers, and we had maybe 5 subject notebooks and all of these things to kind of keep all of our stuff in one place. Well, now we've got it via digital technology. And so you can have many more beyond 5 subjects in your notebook here. And then as you add pages, you have different content. And so when we're talking about individuals who struggle with reading proficiently, whether it be dyslexia or they're a struggling reader or they're a non-native speaker, we can utilize the tools built into OneNote, whether that's desktop or the free online version, and we can allow that individual accessibility through ear reading technology. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go to the insert pane here, and this is how we get information into OneNote. Insert and then file. And what that'll do is pull information from your personal computer. And so I'm sorry, I close out of that pretty quickly because it's like showing someone my closet, which is kind of disorganized. So you're going to go into your files and you're going to look for a Word document or a PDF. You can see that I've got PDF. I've also got, you know, Word documents or things where I've just simply scraped text off of a document and popped it in here. Once you have that information in, you're going to go to View. And then you'll see our friend, the Immersive Reader. And this is an icon that I want you to familiarize yourself with because you're going to start seeing it everywhere. And that means for individuals who need it, the ability to go from sight reading to ear reading. And so let's go ahead and click on that and take a look at how this works. Okay, so we have some text here that a 3rd grade student who is actually diagnosed with dyslexia is having loaded into OneNote via his educator. Being in 3rd grade and being diagnosed with dyslexia, he is, as you can imagine, there's a gap between him and his peers. And so whether they're in the classroom learning or doing distance learning, his educator is doing everything she can to ensure that he has access to that same content in that curriculum that all of his peers do. And he has the choice to sight read or ear read when he feels like he needs to ear read. So we can click on the play button down here. Yeah. I'm gonna bet that I need to enable audio. Let me just check in with you guys and see how we're doing. Was anyone able to hear that? No audio. Okay, hang on. Give me 1 second. I apologize. Let's make sure our audio is included. Apologies, guys. It's Monday morning for me. All right, here we go. Let's click on View tab and Immersive Reader. Here we are.
The Closet Creature by Kelly Hashway. Bump. Bump. Scratch. Adam opened his eyes and pulled the covers up to.
Okay, so you can hear we've got this lovely neural text-to-speech voice reading the text aloud. We can also go in here near the little speaker and we can choose our voice speed. Believe it or not, not everyone can process information auditorily at the same speed. And so your students who have auditory processing disorders or maybe slow processing speed, could be that they have ADHD. Again, that speed is going to be really important to them. And so enabling them to select the speed that works best for them is one of the first steps to increasing their accessibility with the content here. Then the voice selection, I mean, you know, really it's just male or female right here. My sons will tell me, we want the male voice because the female sounds like you and you're annoying, Mom. So I get thrown under the bus every time. Okay, let's go up here to the right. So, and we're going to start out under our text preferences. So again, all of these icons here enable the user to personalize their consumption of content. And again, you know, if you look at the text that we have in books and other, you know, worksheets and other curriculum, our publishers are assuming that our readers all need to read in the same type of format, and they couldn't be further from the truth. So let's start out with our text sizing. And we can increase our text sizing. We can increase our spacing, which opens that document up quite a bit. And as my own son says, in his words in particular, when I have spacing on, it tells my brain to slow down. And then I remember what I read at the end of the page. So one of my sons is using this not for the text to speech. He's using it to personalize how he wants to read the text with his eyes. And so again, when he doesn't have spacing in there, he just plows through the text and he forgets what he read by the end. And so spacing helps him, as he says, slow down. So we can choose our font, and you'll notice Comic Sans is more of a handwritten style, and that can be very helpful for some students. And then we've got these background colors. So whether it's something like low vision or something a small percentage of the population struggles with called convergence insufficiency, which causes a lot of visual strain when reading, or simply a preference, we have different background choices for individuals to choose from. So let's go under our grammar options here in the middle. Now here we can break our words into syllables, all the while our text is highlighting and reading aloud.
2. His chin. He stared around his room, searching the darkness.
Okay, so we can also highlight parts of speech, you'll see. And we can change that color so it doesn't conflict with the background, or sometimes our educators have specific colors they would like the students to highlight in. It's all up to you. And then we can show our labels above. And so this is, these are some really great features, but my absolute favorite features are under this book icon. So these are our reading preferences. Back in the day when I was learning to read, we had something called reading rulers. And so we used these reading rulers when we were learning to read as emerging readers. And it was a way to block out a certain amount of text so that we just kind of stayed focused. Now we have these built in. So whether it's preference, some of our students prefer this, we call it focus mode. And so whether it's preference or it's, you know, something that the educator is choosing for the students at the time, or, you know, whatever, you have it built in right here at your fingertips. Now, one of my absolute favorite features is called Picture Dictionary, and this is done in conjunction with our friends Boardmaker. They make the visual images for individuals who have speech and communication disorders. And so if I go over here and click on a word, So I'm getting a photograph that pops up and helps me comprehend or create meaning. And so what I love is certain words, you'll get two different photographs to help you. There's a little bit of a difference there. So picture dictionary, something that's built in and available. And then lastly, we have Translator. So this drop-down list gives you anywhere up to 65 different languages to choose from. We could choose to translate just a word or an entire document.
The Closet Creature de Kelly Asway. Asway. Golpe. Golpe. Rasguño. Adán abrió los ojos y levantó las cubiertas.
So again, we have a lovely neural text-to-speech voice. This one is Spanish. And you'll notice that we also have picture dictionary that translates as well. I am not a Spanish reader, but okay, doing all right here, clicking on words. And then we also have the ability to toggle between both the Spanish version and the original version at the top of the page here. And so, you know, remember when I said that sometimes technology is created for a very exclusive group, but many more beyond that group can find uses. And so again, you know, this was created for students who are non-native speakers. And I have a high school son who has found a use for this. He's taking Spanish and he puts information in English and translates it to Spanish and goes back and forth between the two. And he's retaining a lot more in that manner. And so again, you know, many more uses beyond the initial intent. Okay, so we just covered, in a nutshell, the Immersive Reader technology or capabilities built into OneNote. And I'm going to check in quickly with you guys to make sure that there aren't any questions popping up. So, okay. And I just want to encourage you guys to type questions in at any time you have them. Go ahead and put them into our chat window. I'm going to share with you some different links. In fact, I'm going to type one in right now. So throughout the presentation, I'm going to share different links that I think will be really useful for you. So if you haven't checked out OneNote before, try OneNoteForTeachers.com and see what kind of great things you can learn. So let's go ahead back here, and that was OneNote. We are going to also take a look at other places that Immersive Reader exists. And so what I want to show you is Edge Browser. And I'm going to show you why Edge Browser is just a wonderful option for students and why you want to make it your primary search engine, especially when working with students. So let's start out here. I'm in Edge Browser Chromium version. This is something that you can download on your computer, any device. So if you're on a Mac or an iPad or other type of device, you still can download Edge Chromium. It's just like Google. It's just a search engine. So here I am with a website that I like to use for learning. It's called Tween Tribune. Lots of great content for students K-12. And you'll notice that here's our different topics, and we have information Lexile leveled. And so let's say you're asking a student this fall, and chances are we might be doing some distance learning. Let's say you're asking students to do some research for a topic or a report. And again, our students who struggle with reading are going to be at a whole different side there, because if they're doing a lot of reading online, it's going to catch up with them. It can be very difficult, very exhausting. And so we want to afford them opportunities to be able to access curriculum and participate without completely and totally overwhelming them. So here we are in Edge Browser, and you'll notice up here in my browser bar, I have the Immersive Reader icon. Again, mainstream internet search. Here I can click on Immersive Reader. It's going to wipe out my ads. And you just saw here, this toolbar pops down. So I can get the read aloud. Okay. So I can have it read aloud to me. I've got my voice options over here and my voice speed. But if I close that, I've also got my text preferences. And so I can make sure that my text preferences are set up to my particular preferences. I can increase my spacing, select a background color. If I wanted to, I could choose my line focus mode, and I've got grammar tools as well. So all of this, again, built into a mainstream internet search, enabling users who prefer to ear read versus sight read the ability to choose that option and increase their accessibility. So I think that's pretty amazing, and my kids absolutely love having that option. I'm also going to show you Word. So let's go into Word Online. And here we are in Word's online version. This again is the free version that anyone can use with any device. And let's go under the View tab. And then here we are, we have Immersive Reader. And so just like we saw in OneNote, I now have this skin that's popped over top of the page and enabled me with text to speech. And I have my voice settings, all of these similar text preferences, grammar options, reading preferences built in up here in the right, as we covered in OneNote. And you'll notice too that the size of the text and the spacing is all similar to when we were in OneNote. That's because it has memory, and these sync up with one another. So it's really great to have your preferences stay the same every time you open up the Immersive Reader. And certainly I can adjust it as I prefer, but the preferences, the memory being there is really awesome. Okay, so we have covered Immersive Reader in OneNote, Word, and in Edge browser. And I'm going to go ahead into PowerPoint again, and I'm going to show you one other place that you can find Immersive Reader, and something that might be really helpful for students. Okay, so Eliana, it is called Edge browser, Edge Chromium. So it's an internet search capability. And you want to.
I had another question, Rachel, if you don't mind.
So we're supposed to stay on mute throughout the presentation. So if you just want to type your question in, that would be really helpful. And I'll get to that as I can. We're going to move right into PowerPoint. But yes, definitely able to help too. Okay, so I'm going to go back into PowerPoint as promised. And we are going to take a look at that additional technology that'll help with Immersive Reader. And I'm picking up a little bit of background noise, so I'm wondering if everyone could just check that you're muted. Okay, so let's take a look at something called Office Lens. And for those of you that may not be familiar with Office Lens, hang on one second. I want to make sure we enable audio here. I know last time it was a little bit difficult without that, so. Okay, for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of utilizing Office Lens, this is a free app in the App Store. It's a Microsoft app, and you can use it with an iPad, an iPhone, and an Android. And off to the right here, this little icon, this is what it looks like in the App Store. So here's a video of what it does.
Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout. Would not take the garbage out.
Okay, so we took a photograph of a book, so some text that the individual wanted to have read to them. And Office Lens runs OCR on that text, which is optical character recognition, and then enables you to use Immersive Reader right then and there on that device. So again, the individual is using maybe an iPad or an iPhone, and then they can immediately have that text read aloud to them via Immersive Reader, which again, all the same features that you have seen both in OneNote and Word. So pretty amazing technology. And again, think about your students and how, once you reach about 8th grade, well, maybe it's even 6th grade, but middle school in particular, middle school, high school, and college students pretty much always have a device on their person. And so if they're struggling to read certain text, they can just snap a photo with Immersive Reader or with Office Lens and then utilize Immersive Reader to have that text read aloud. I'm going to show you one other feature that I discovered is possible with Office Lens, and this was this spring when we were in our distance learning period with our school, and my son was getting a lot of packets coming home, and he is dysgraphic, so writing in between these small spaces can be very difficult. And so this is what we used Office Lens for. We snap a photo. We can then grab a text box up here. This is the T for text box. And then we're using the dictation feature on that device. So this was an iPad, and we're dictating in that text box. Now we overlay that text box into the right spot on that photograph of the worksheet. And then you'll see here, again, dictating in the text box. I'm just showing you that you can choose different colors if you like. And with the pincher motion on your fingers, you can enlarge it or shrink that text box when you move it to the correct place on the worksheet. And then from there, you can simply email the assignment to the educator. So we just went into Outlook and emailed the photograph. So this was a way to remove a roadblock that my son was experiencing, and absolutely love Office Lens. So please check it out yourselves. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of more things in PowerPoint here before we move on to talking about writing. For those of you that create quizzes and tests, if you use Forms, Microsoft Forms, for those quizzes and texts, you can have the Immersive Reader built in right there. It will help your students who struggle with reading to more independently be able to take those quizzes and tests because they can just have Immersive Reader read that to them. So Microsoft Forms. And then if you have, if you're familiar with some of these EdTech apps or publishers, they now have Immersive Reader embedded into their websites and content. And so this is already slightly outdated because we also have KidBlog, Pear Deck, and even Flipgrid that have Immersive Reader embedded in. So be sure to check your favorite apps and publishers for Immersive Reader. Then I also want to share with you this All About Immersive Reader page here. And this is something that, whoops, sorry about that. This is something that anyone can go to learn more about the Immersive Reader. Whoops. I accidentally clicked on that. Sorry about that, guys. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. And so All About the Immersive Reader has the latest research and wonderful links and videos embedded in that help you learn more about Immersive Reader and its capabilities. Next up, we have partnered with a UK-based charity called Made by Dyslexia, and we've created training modules so that you can take them from the comfort of your own home and learn more about dyslexia. And currently we have module 1 and 2 out, and the third one will be released this fall. So again, dyslexia awareness curriculum that anyone can take at their home at any time. And then this little table here is what we like to call the Microsoft Learning Tools periodic chart of availability. So you'll see what different parts of speech, etc., which features you get across which platforms. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about writing. But before I do that, I want to just ensure that we don't have any questions popping up. So let's go ahead and take a look here at questions. So Eliana, you were looking for you had a specific question. In the browser option, I noticed there's the OneNote app as an option there. What does that do? So OneNote in the browser has a lot of different capabilities you can utilize, and I would recommend checking those out. And I pasted a link into our chat a little earlier. It was called OneNoteForTeachers.com, and you'll be able to learn a lot about OneNote and its features via that website. So I'd recommend checking that out if you haven't already. So let's go ahead here and go into writing and talk about some of the writing tools we have available. Just a second here. So let's go back into our PowerPoint, and we're going to go into writing. And I'll have a couple examples that I'm going to share with you as well. So first up is an example from one of my sons. And so on the left, you can see a handwriting sample that's pretty messy. And on the right, you'll see a written assignment, typewritten assignment that's very legible. He was asked to write a one-page story in language arts. And so again, on the left, you can see an example where obviously it was very arduous task for him, the writing assignment. And really the longer he spent at writing didn't necessarily provide additional results. And so as a dysgraphic and a dyslexic, he struggles deeply with that task. On the right, when we enabled him with dictation, he was able to produce some really wonderful content and much more effective than the example on the left. And so again, example on the left, the handwritten example took him about 50 minutes of his class time, whereas the example on the right took him 12 minutes start to finish, including editing. And so this is just kind of a testament to how empowering these tools are for students that struggle. So let's go ahead and go into Word, and I'm going to show you exactly how all of those tools work. Okay. Let's do this. Here we are. Go into Word. So again, just want to let you guys know that you can type questions in anytime you have them throughout the presentation. And I will check when I'm popping in and out of various different bits of content. Trying to get my Word up here for you. Okay, so we're going to just look at an example, just a random example here. And this is Word. And so here we're going to start out with under the Home tab, how was it possible for my son to create content in a more effective manner and completely independently? So first we have dictation, and that's off to the right over here. And if you'll notice, I have this tiny little arrow. I can choose the language that I'm dictating in. In my case, I'm going to dictate in English, and then I'm going to move my cursor here for you. Period. So now I have dictation engaged, and I can simply speak what's on my mind and have it written onto paper. For some, this is a very effective manner of creating content and removes the barrier of the manual task of writing, period. Okay, so I'm going to highlight what I wrote here so that you can all see, as I know sometimes when we're presenting, Whoops. Needed to turn off dictation first. So here, I have just dictated this sentence, and you'll see that it really effectively and efficiently picked up what I was writing or speaking. And so I absolutely love utilizing dictation when it comes to writing. As an individual who has dyslexia myself, I use dictation on a daily basis. Okay, so in addition to dictation, because it wasn't just that enabled my son to more effectively write. In addition to dictation, under our review tab, we have something called Read Aloud. And so it's toggling between both dictating and then having that read back aloud. Just like when we ask students to write something manually, we often say, now read that back to yourself before submitting it, right? We want them to see if it makes sense. So here we can click on the Read Aloud button. Okay. And then we can have it read aloud and see if everything makes sense. In addition to that, so that's again toggling between Read Aloud feature under our Review tab and Dictation, which is under our Home tab off to the right. Then in addition to that, we can use our editor. And so that's under our Review tab over here. So editor, when we click on that, will pop up a pane that will, I wonder if our internet's not syncing here. Let's try that again. The editor pane will pop up on the right, and it will literally walk us through the different errors on our document so that we can, again, more independently create content. This is really weird. I've never had this happen. So clicking on editor, and it's not seeming to engage. I have a workaround for that. So I'm just going to go ahead here. Maybe it just needs a minute, and I'm going to start by, I can also see that this word is underlined, and I can right click on it. And so now I get a drop down list of potential spellings. Previously, you get a drop down list of potential spellings you meant or for that word. But if you're someone who struggles with dyslexia, it doesn't necessarily help to have a drop-down list with several different options because there is no way to disambiguate between the versions of that word that you actually meant. Well, now we have this improved spell checker built in, and it gives us some context. So we can click on the word that we did mean. And if we're fatiguing at that point, we can click on the arrow and have that read aloud. Okay. So let's go ahead and see if our editor is working yet. There we go. So the editor pane enables us to independently walk through correcting our document, and it provides us suggestions for those corrections so that, again, we can more independently create content without someone looking over our shoulder or telling us everything that we need to do to ensure that the document is correct. One other thing that I want to show you before we stop talking about writing is it's under our Review tab, and this is Translator. So again, when we have a need to translate, whether it's for a student who's a non-native speaker, or maybe it's we want to increase the parent-teacher communication, we can, within Word, go ahead and translate just a part of the document or the entire document. So if we click on Translator, this enables us to translate either a section or the document itself. We can go ahead over here to the right and choose from a drop-down list here, again, up to about 65 different languages, and translate that document. And then remember, we have Read Aloud built in here under the Review tab, so that document can be read aloud. Or if the individual wants the full Immersive Reader experience, under the View tab, we have Immersive Reader. So a lot of different options built into Word that enable users to more effectively be able to create content. And keep in mind, that also fosters that independence that we want students to have as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into PowerPoint for a minute here. And I'm going to show you one more thing that will help students with their writing. So, and it's called word prediction. Word prediction can be enabled in your settings. And so let's just go ahead and show you guys this slide with word prediction. And so what you want to do to enable word prediction to pop up is you want to go into your settings, and then you can type in, settings are set up by various different, you'll see off to the left here, whether it's your mouse, your printers, or your typing. So you go into your settings, and you're looking for the typing settings, and then you want to scroll all the way down to hardware keyboard. And you want to click on show text suggestions as I type. And so you'll see over here on the right, text suggestions pop up while the individual is typing. And this slide is showing the capabilities in Word Online. So this works in Word Online as well. So let's go ahead to our chat and see if we have anything that you guys are questioning. So Jeffrey, it says you missed other sessions. Will they be available later for viewing? I believe all of these sessions are being recorded, Jeffrey. So definitely feel free to look at the different sessions. Otherwise, my email was shared. I'm just going to type it in here again. I can certainly let you know when there's other sessions and something else that you can enjoy or join. Couple more throughout the rest of the summer. So does the read aloud, Jacob is asking, does the read aloud feature only work in the desktop version of Word? I can't seem to find it in Word Online. So read aloud feature works in both Word Online and the desktop version, and so does Immersive Reader. Okay, so let's go into, we've got just a few more minutes, and I want to share with you guys also some math tools that I think are really phenomenal for students who might want some accessibility. And then I want to share with you some links before we part ways today. So I'm going to go into OneNote to access these tools for you, and we won't need any system audio, so we can skip that this time. All right, let's go into our math. And so I've got an equation I've written in here earlier. I do have a touch screen device, so just letting you guys know that. But these tools work with all devices. So again, I'm in OneNote, and I'm going to go over here under the Draw tab and grab this lasso here, and I'm going to circle my equation. And so once I've done that, I can go over here to the math. And then we have a math pane that pops up, and we can select from a relevant list of actions based upon that equation. And so in this case, my only option is to solve for x. And that's great and fine, but really as an individual who's struggling with the math portion and struggling with remembering order of operations or sequence to solving, what I need is the steps. So I can click on this arrow and get the steps. And then you'll also see that I have Immersive Reader built in. So if I'm a student who's a non-native speaker and I'm having a little bit of difficulty, I've got my Immersive Reader, and I can go under my reading preferences and change the language. Or if I'm just struggling and fatiguing at this point and prefer to have it read aloud, again, Mercer Reader's right there to help. So that's our math, one of our math tools. One of the next ones I'd like to show you is graphing, and I'm just going to move this guy here. So I've written this equation in. Again, I'm going to go to Draw tab and then circle the equation. And over here, I'm going to go to Math. And you'll see that I can either fix it. That's because when something's handwritten, on occasion, it gets a little bit messy. And so if you want to fix it, you click on that button and circle the area that you need fixed. Or you could choose to ink to math. And so in this equation, we can have this go from handwriting to typewritten. But I'm pretty fine with my handwriting, and I think it's pretty legible. So I'm going to go select my action. and I'm going to graph in 2D today. So now you'll notice I get this interactive graph that pops up, and that's all, well and fine, but what I really need to do is focus on some of these key graph features for my assignment. So we could show our zeros on the graph and our y-intercept, and you'll notice when I clicked on those, it put these two little blue dots here on my graph as in the right location. And then I can also insert this on my page to show that I've completed my assignment. So one of my favorite math features is something that I think as a student when I was younger could have greatly helped me with math. And so I struggled with remembering the order of operation or the sequence to solving equations. And so right here, we have something called inking replay. So if you're an educator that's using OneNote for math and showing your students how to solve equations in your notebook here, what the student can do if they need that replayed, instead of you having to reteach them each time, you can enable your student to use inking replay. So if I go to the View tab and all the way over here to Replay, I'm going to select my text. And now it's replaying. So it's showing me how that equation was solved. And I can pause it or slow it down or replay it again. And then on the flip side of things, if you're an educator who's got a student, and again, they're doing their math in their notebook, but you're not really certain how they arrived at the answer for their equation, you can use the replay for that as well. So all of these great tools are available, they're accessible, they're free, and you can use them from multiple devices. Eliana says she's using this tool in class all the time. It's only available in the app and not the online version. Eliana, are you talking about the math tools? I'm assuming you're talking about math. And yes, right now it's only in the app. Should be out for the full online experience sometime this fall, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to go back into PowerPoint and show you guys some additional resources you might want to, some different links you might want to click on and have access to. I will give you guys a link to my PowerPoint. Someone is asking, can I share them? Well, I'm going to share a link, so let me just grab that right now. I'm going to share you a link to my PowerPoint deck, and then you guys will be able to go in there and check out any links you'd like. And this is a view-only link that I'm sharing with you for the PowerPoint deck. One of the other things I want to share with you is if you have educators, cohorts that you believe should see this presentation or would benefit from this tool, I can do a couple of different things. We have more of these presentations happening. For me, my presentations are going on through the end of July. And then the other thing I do is oftentimes I do a professional development for a group of educators at a school. You just have to email me. It's free and we do it via webinar. So if you have a group within your school that you believe needs these tools and a professional development, we can certainly provide that for you. Okay, so let's talk about links here. And I just put in the chat window the link to the PowerPoint deck for all of you. So one of the things before we leave that I want to share with you is these are called our interactive guides. And this is something that you can take from the comfort of your own home, and they're self-paced interactive guides. So they're broken down into reading, writing, math, and communication. And again, it'll take you through everything I took you through, but at more of a self-paced, and it's a click-through guide. You're going to learn all of these on your own. So these are phenomenal. In addition to that, we have created at Microsoft in our Microsoft Educator community, this link, we've created a special education accessibility resources for remote learning. And so really anything you want on accessibility for students, whether it's students who have organization struggles or focus or blind and low vision, everything you need is under this website. So would encourage you to check that out. And then before we wrap up, I want to share with you a quote from Marlee Matlin, who was awarded an Academy Award for her work in Children of a Lesser God. She said that no one should have to ask for access. It should just be there. I couldn't agree with her more. I would also go on to say access should not be a members only club for those who can pay for it. And so with Microsoft Learning Tools, we're ensuring that everyone has access. Okay, I'm going to go back into checking on our questions and make sure that we can answer a couple of questions for those of you that still might have them. And I'm just going to pop up my email address again for those of you that might be interested in sharing your experiences as you implement these tools, or if you need some extra professional development for your educator peers. So feel free to comment on the presentation or type your questions in at this point. Shelley, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to drop off, guys. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for joining today. I appreciate it. I have office hours on Wednesday. For those of you that are trying out the tools and might have questions navigating, drop into my office hours on Wednesday. And that list, the time and the link is up on Q's website, just same area where you found this one. Thank you, Elaine. Robert, thank you as well. I appreciate it. Love the comments, guys. It's helpful. Okay, well, we are at the top of the hour, folks. And so oh, Jeffrey, would like to invite you for a PD for our stuff. Jeffrey, absolutely, please do. My email is right there on our slide, v-raber@microsoft.com. So look forward to hearing from you. Okay, guys, we're at the top of the hour. I thank you again for joining me today for the session on increasing accessibility and fostering inclusive classrooms. And hope that you learned something today that you will be able to share with your students. Elizabeth, the recording for the presentation will be available on Q's website. So check that out as well. You'll be able to replay it and relearn anything that you might have questions on. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.